Hello, everyone. My name is Vaida, and I am Education Lead at Metrics DAO. Welcome, everyone, to the webinar today. And for today, we have a very exciting technology that we will be introducing to you, which is Optimism. So, we are going to start right now. Get comfortable, and we'll kick this off in about 30 seconds. Okay, let's start. So, first, I would like to introduce you to the organizer of this webinar, which is Metrics DAO. At Metrics DAO, we are first and foremost a community of Web3 data analysts who provide Web3 organizations with on demand data, insights, and tooling. So we have almost 5,000 amazing data analysts in our community, and we work with dozens of leading blockchain organizations providing incredible data insights supported by our community members. Other than our focus on providing data analytics and connecting people interested in Web3 data analytics in our community, we're also hosting a bunch of courses and we're constantly releasing new ones. So at the moment, we have Web3 Analytics 101 live and asynchronous programs available, as well as Web3 Analytics 201 live program. Other than that, we also have programs on various blockchain ecosystems, such as Algorand, Ethereum, and Near. In the future, we are going to launch even more exciting programs, both linked with data analytics and various ecosystems, such as Cosmos, Solana, DAOs, etc. Other than our amazing educational programs, we're also hosting a bunch of analytics challenges that anyone can take part of. And we are really focusing as a community support our data analysts in educating them and in helping them to gain experience and even start earning in Web3 through dozens of analytics challenges that we have available for you. So these challenges are a great way for you to step into the Web3 analytics space and build your career and grow as a Web3 analyst. We have amazing success stories from various community members who have graduated from our programs and landed full time jobs. Many of them started with only knowing blockchain basics. But as they built their experience and as they started learning through our educational programs, they managed to fully step into the Web3 analytics and beyond space. Right. So now I would like to go into the topic of today, which is optimism. But even before we start talking about optimism, I'd like to give you some context why optimism is important and what sort of problem it is trying to tackle here. So, first, we all know Ethereum as the biggest blockchain at the moment, with hosting thousands of decentralized applications and connecting thousands of developers. However, it's not so perfect. It does have a scalability problem. So, with huge network congestion and with so many different users joining Ethereum, the network is becoming expensive and slow to use. So, we need to ensure that we have some scalability solutions on top of Ethereum that will allow Ethereum to scale even if more and more users are joining the network, which is inevitably going to happen. So, we've seen many scalability solutions being implemented on Ethereum, mainly layer 2 solutions that are helping Ethereum to scale and successfully manage the huge capacity it has to carry. So here where optimism comes in is one of the biggest and most important Ethereum scaling solutions that today we are going to be delving into. So today we are going to have a primer around optimism and why it is important, what sort of innovations it has brought into the market, and understand how it is governed and what it is being focused on. So now let's look into the overview of optimism. So first, it's a scaling solution, as we saw. It is made to make the Ethereum technology cheaper and faster. Optimism was founded in 2019 by a few people, so Jinglan, Benjamin, Carl, and Kevin, and the company is at the moment in New York. The mainnet went live a couple years ago in December 2021, and Optimus actually launched its own native token relatively recently, May 31st last year. So it is a layer 2 solution, which means that it functions on top of Ethereum's main net. Well, that means that essentially transactions take place on Optimism, but the data about the transactions gets posted on mainnet, where these transactions are validated. So, Optimism powers this technology, which is called Optimism rollups. And we are going to be looking into what these are in a moment. But essentially, what that means is that these optimistic rollups bundle large amounts of transactions into digestible batches. So it is a very big technology and has a huge ecosystem already in Ethereum. It's one of the top Ethereum layer 2s. And overall, its vision beyond scaling Ethereum is to create a global economy with a profit motive for public goods. So Optimus has a huge focus on public goods, and how it is focused on public goods, we're actually going to be looking as well during the webinar today. And when it comes to its purpose and what it's currently doing and focusing on is supporting the main Ethereum network to run smoothly. And it's doing so by taking off transactional load through this thing, as we saw, called optimistic rollup. Okay, so what is that rollup technology? So there are actually a few different projects that are building this rollup technology that are beyond optimism, and we actually have different types of rollup technology. So first, let's even look what rollups even are. So essentially, again, it is a scaling solution that are aiming to help Ethereum to have higher transaction throughput. So again, we also saw that earlier today, but the main idea here is that the transactions are executed outside of the Ethereum's mainnet, so it's layer 1, but the data posted is posted into the layer 1, And the consensus is actually reached inside of the layer one. So the main benefit of having a roll-up technology is to reduce the load on the main network and also guarantee that broadcasted information by its native security. So we have at the moment two types of rollups available, and they mainly differentiate based on how they're handling their security. So we have first this thing called zero knowledge, or in other words, ZK rollups. So the way ZK rollups work, they run computation off chain and then submit proof of validity to the chain. Whilst optimistic rollups assume, so optimistically, that's why I call optimistic rollups, they assume that transactions are valid by default and only run computation through fraud proof if there is a challenge. Right. So, what it does practically, the rollup actually kind of bundles up hundreds of Ethereum transactions and then represent those in a single transaction on the Ethereum mainnet. And in the end, what we actually have is that only we have through those hundred of transactions, there's actually only one transaction kind of fee. It's a fee of only one transaction that needs to be paid, which significantly reduces the gas fees and significantly increases the speed of which the transactions are executed. Um, in return, cutting down the network congestion. So this solution, as we saw earlier, is actually not validating the transactions. So it is bringing the transactions to the layer two, then bundling up in the layer two, but then the actual consensus is reached on Ethereum's mainnet, on Ethereum's layer one and its existing consensus mechanism, which is at the moment proof of stake as of recently. So it is built to increase the speed and the efficiency of the network, but at the same time, it is not changing anything about the way the network is operating. Right. So again, optimistic transactions mean that the transactions are taken to be correct until they're proven false. Um, and if, um, but basically, if there is some form of a kind of fraud there, there is a mechanism to avoid it, which is thing called fraud proof that Optimism has implemented. And this fraud proof can be submitted within a 7-day challenge window. And once the 7-day challenge window closes, then the transactions actually go through and then they are recorded on the actual mainnet chain. And they are then reaching the consensus there. Right. So another big thing about optimism is that it is EVM equivalent, which essentially means that if you are a user, um, essentially on the Optimus network, you would use ETH for gas fees, as the Ethereum is the parent blockchain of Optimism. Um, Also, yeah, but with the fees, you would only actually pay for for one transaction, even though hundreds of transactions have been rolled up. Also, optimism using optimism actually for from the user perspective is quite similar to using Ethereum. Your address even also begins with 0x. And if you do want to have a look into what's happening on the Optimus blockchain, you can actually just go to optimism.etherscan. So Etherscan, you might be familiar with if you have been looking it for it through, for analyzing Ethereum transactions. So Optimism Blockchain Explorer is very similar, um, and that's this place for you to track Optimism transactions. And also, for Ethereum users, it makes it easier since it is using MetaMask. So you can actually just use your MetaMask wallet in order to send Optimism tokens. Right. So when it comes to the tokens, Um, right now, like the Optimus has launched its own token, as we saw quite recently, last year, May 31st, and the current price is $2.79. And um, the Optimus token actually give right for the holders to participate in the Optimus Collective, which is actually a huge part of what Optimus is about. And we're actually going to be diving deeper a bit today into what it what it is and what it does. Right. So essentially, Optimism is using this decentralized public run governance system, which essentially mean that the products that are made to serve that the public good can and should be profitable. So it really kind of focuses on as a community to be governing the blockchain, but also at the same time ensuring that it's building public goods and incentivizing public goods to be built. And the Optimus Collective essentially is made of various communities, companies, and participants that support optimism. And when it comes to its governance system, it's actually using a two-tier governance system, which is composed of two parts. One is Token House, and the other one is Citizen House. Right, so we have the Token House and the Citizens House as part of the Optimus Collective. One of the big things that Optimus is focused on, as you saw, is public goods. So it is constantly trying to find ways on how it can actually incentivize more public goods to be built, um, and it's actually dedicating at the moment various a bunch of Optimus tokens to fund those public goods. And it actually recently announced its second retroactive public goods funding, and also just introduced the first iteration of the Citizens House. Citizens House is actually very new and it has just been implemented a few weeks ago. What is this Citizens House that Optimism has built? So essentially, it funds public goods through a process called retroactive public goods funding. So um, essentially, it is kind of the one managing this new fund, and this fund, the retro PGF, is based on the idea that it is easier to determine what was useful than to issue proactive grants for what might be useful. So that's the key idea of how Citizens House is running this fund. And the process is essentially run as a series of discrete rounds, each with the same structure. So, so Optimus is actually very committed to this retro PGF funding mechanism, as it's distributing 20% of its whole treasury um, to fund public goods. And in the future, it's actually aiming to even increase the the amount of how much is actually distributed through these funding mechanism through incorporating additional funding sources such as protocol profits. Whilst the token house is actually made of OP token holders and their delegates, and actually uses a traditional model of coin voting to govern the core economics. So, like how many blockchains at the moment are, doing their governments, and this includes ecosystem grants, overseeing the European token treasury, and certain network parameters like sequencing. Right. So we have the Citizens House and we have the Token House. Citizens House is responsible for the retroactive public goods funding, and the Token House for project incentives, protocol upgrades, and treasury funds. So actually, right now we are at the second stage of the retro PGF. And you can see that it actually grown 10 times since its first iteration. But the idea from Optimus is actually to make it sustainable and to ensure that this funding will be running forever and will never stop. And I'm also very happy to announce that Metrics actually has also been nominated to be taking part of this RPGF2 funding round. And we have been nominated for the education section. So actually, Optimism for its public goods is focusing on three things. So the first thing is infrastructure and dependencies, which essentially is focused on software used to build and deploy the OP stack, contributions to protocols or standards upon which the OP stack runs, and some other future development contributions on the core OP stack protocol. Then we also have tooling and utilities. So here, the funding is going towards projects that are helping builders to create applications on the Optimism mainnet, build using the OP stack, interact with the governance of the collective, and use applications built on Optimism and education, which is actually the part that we are actually part of as verse ourselves. And here the key is about the work that around spreading awareness and knowledge about how optimism works, in different ways. Right. So if there are any of you developers around here, I just wanted to mention that Optimism is EVM equivalent. So if you are used to deploying smart contracts on Ethereum, if you're used to Solidity language, it's actually going to be not that hard for you to start building on Optimism. And if you actually want to learn more about how you can get started, there is some amazing developer documentation that has been developed by Optimism, which you can find by going over to community.optimism.io/doc/developers. Right. So the whole of this OP stack and what Optimism is really kind of trying to focus on is really about creating the shared high quality and fully open source system for creating new L2 blockchains on top of Optimism. And by coordinating on shared standards, the Optimus collective can avoid rebuilding the same software in silos repeatedly. So if you do want to participate in the protocol's development, if you do want to join Optimism, there's a different ways you can do that. You can join protocols calls that are available for you to join. There's a bunch of different opportunities to propose, to provide feedback to protocol improvements, and also obviously there is all these different funding mechanisms are available for you if you have some ideas what sort of projects can be built on the different areas that Optimism is looking into. Another thing that Optimism has developed, we only have a few slides left, so thanks for everyone who still are here. But the other thing that Optimism has developed is actually a unique NFT collection. And it's very interesting because it actually unlocked interesting gamification features, which can be unlocked through participation in the Optimism Collective. So the Optimism NFT is really new and it's currently in beta, and only all the voters in the current public goods funding round can mint these NFTs. However, starting this year, each month, several hundred active addresses will be invited to mint. Right. So when it comes to like the overall overview of Optimism, so again, it is an EVM compatible optimistic rollup chain, which is designed to be fast, simple, and secure. At the moment, it has a bunch of leading projects as part of its ecosystem that have implemented Optimism. And it's really focusing on its Optimism collective that is compromised from the Citizens House and the Token House. And actually, it has been funded by some of the leading investor investor arms in the Web3 space. And Optimus right now is actually the second biggest role roll up technology. So Arbitrum is the first one, and Optimus is the second one. So it has a huge market share, and it's actually a really, really important part of the whole Ethereum ecosystem. Okay, that's it. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending the webinar today. I hope you learned something new about Optimism and that you inspired your curiosity to learn more and get involved into its exciting ecosystem. So if you do have any questions about some of the content, feel free to ask us in our Discord server, which I would really, really invite you to join. And in addition to that, we do have a bunch of free and exciting programs available for you on different ecosystems such as Near Algorand and Ethereum that are completely free to join. And you can actually find those programs heading to our MetricSell website. Also, feel free to register to our analytics programs if you want to learn more about Web3 analytics and participate in our analytics challenges if you already have some analytics knowledge or would like to build it further. We have amazing opportunities for you available to do that. All right. Thank you everyone for attending the webinar today. Hope you have a good day ahead and hope to see you in our future webinars happening every Monday and Wednesday at noon ET time. Bye bye.